detonates suicide bomb, kidnaps IDF soldier 90 minutes into ceasefire. Terrorist emerged from a tunnel shaft, and a suicide bomber detonated near soldiers prior to the suspected kidnapping. The IDF says the incident is ongoing and that it is in the midst of efforts to track down the missing soldier. And here's the part of the story that really upset me. Some of the terror tunnels are almost 2 miles long and cost upwards of $1 million each to construct. Where's that money coming from? Some of that construction money comes from the American taxpayers. Some of those tunnels were built with entrances inside United Nations buildings. Ostensibly with tacit UN approval. Then they give you a picture of the kidnapped Israeli soldier. Could you imagine, if you're Benjamin Netanyahu, if you're the Israeli people and you know the Americans are giving billions of dollars to the Palestinian Authority, who is controlled by Hamas, a terrorist group? And I'd heard this last week and I never really thought about it until I saw this little story right beside the guy who was kidnapped. Picture of the Israeli soldier. Some of that construction money comes from the American taxpayers. We're hearing Americans attacking Israel for bombing UN buildings. Well, it appears that the UN may be complicit. How many UN hospitals and schools and buildings do we have to find terrorist ammunition depots? How many tunnels that come out in a UN building do we have to find before we scratch our heads and say, I wonder if anybody at the UN knew about this? And I saw a story earlier, this one doesn't say it, that they were using children. These are animals. These radical Muslims, I've said it for years, the only way we're ever going to end the war on terror is if we put a bullet in every last one of their heads. May take a while. There's no peace with these people. There's no negotiating. There's no living in harmony. They are the modern day Nazis. They are the modern day SS in the Nazi Party. They are the modern day Adolf Hitler. Whatever whack job is running Iran, that's Adolf Hitler. Only Adolf Hitler without the most brilliant scientists in the world, and the most brilliant generals. It's the only difference. I don't mind telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that this pisses me off. To find out that some of these tunnels were 2 miles long, cost $1 million each, and most likely were built with money that comes from the American taxpayers. And then what? We have a report last week of a Barack Obama yelling at Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone. I'm telling you right now, the only reason Benjamin Netanyahu don't tell him exactly what he can do is because there may come a time, when Israel is attacked from all directions, I hope Israel has a lot of nukes. No, I really do. That may sound a little crazy. No, I do. Because when they're attacked from all directions, if it happens within the next 2 years, we're not going to be there. They're on their own. And I'd point a nuke, and I'd have 360 nukes pointing in every degree of the compass. And when the enemy's coming through the gate and about to overrun Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, I'd push the button. I really would. May sound cruel. These people are animals. The great one calls them Islamo-Nazis. That's exactly what they are. They are the epitome of evil. And there are too many Americans. Way too many Americans defending these people. And it's disgusting. And, ladies and gentlemen, here's one of them. Here's one of the disgusting, despicable Americans. Joe Scarborough. Doubling down, Scarborough stands by his remarks accusing Israel of indiscriminate killing of women and children. See if I can get this clip to play here. This is the morning joke. Talking to his useful idiots.
So joining us, the moderator of Meet the Press, David Gregory, and Sam Stein is with us as well. We're going to start with the breaking news from the Middle East. There are reports this morning that the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has unraveled just hours after taking effect. Both sides are accusing the other of violating the truce. A Palestinian official says Israeli shelling this morning has killed at least 27 people and wounded more than 100 others in southern Gaza. The Israeli military, meanwhile, says...
Okay, hang on. Let me set this up. I didn't set it up. Thursday morning, MSNBC's Joe Scarborough accused Israel of what appears to be indiscriminate killing of women and children. And I thought that clip was in here. Let me see. There is another clip here. That's the clip I meant to play, his original statement. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable. I'll check this other clip and see.
Here's another reason to love Kroger.
There's another reason to love Kroger, but if you don't love Kroger, just hang tight and I'll play that clip for you. They all got advertisements. I've tried queuing them up and they froze up by the time I get to them. Joe Scarborough just viciously attacked Israel. As he claimed to be a supporter, just like good liberals do. Israel has a right to defend themselves.
Fire between Israel and
Yeah, that's not the Morning Joe clip. Israel has every right to defend themselves, but this indiscriminate killing of women and children is asinine, which is what he said. On Friday morning, Joe Scarborough seemed shocked that he was criticized for accusing Israel of war crimes with no evidence to back it up, and then went on to read a prepared statement that attacked his critics as simple-minded. So, after he accuses Israel of war crimes on Thursday, with absolutely no evidence, and I wished I had that clip, maybe I can find it, he comes back and doubles down on it this morning.
At least 2 Israeli soldiers were killed, and the army says it appears an IDF soldier has been abducted. The return of violence is a far cry from this picture captured by NBC's Ayman Moldeen, which showed Palestinians returning to the beaches and fishing boats with hopes the ceasefire would actually hold for more than an hour. The area had been emptied for weeks due to the fighting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to destroy the tunnels used by Hamas to launch attacks on the Jewish state. NBC's Martin Flesher got a rare look inside one of those underground passageways.
Dug through clay and sand, the tunnels are hard to find.
It's 45 feet deep down here.
Concrete arches, electricity, telephones, almost 6 feet high, more than 2 feet wide. Hamas has built dozens of them.
So this tunnel in this direction goes 1 mile, more than a mile, into Gaza, to the town of Khan Yunis. In this direction, only a few more hundred yards, Israel. It comes up inside an Israeli kibbutz in the farming lands. Israel was this close to another tragedy.
That's incredible. And of course, we were talking about this yesterday, and comments you made on the show yesterday blasted over the internet in lots of different ways.
Well, and on talk radio and other places on TV where people like to keep it simple as possible. What's the quote?
Foolish consistency. Foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds.
Okay, thank you. That's why we bring Pulitzer Prize winners on.
So that's a good
So, as John Meacham says, and I think he made this up, and that's why he got the Pulitzer, since a foolish consistency is a hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little politicians and partisan barkers in the public square. I didn't expect the usual.
After showing $1 million tunnels, who's so it's these people are so stupid. They do a story that just proves how wrong Joe Scarborough is, how desperate the Israelis are, how dangerous Hamas is, and it proves what an ignorant fool he was the day before. They run a story that proves it. And then they laugh and joke after that, after the story that pretty much proves he's an imbecilic buffoon. They come back on. It's a Pulitzer. That's why we have Pulitzer Prize winners here. All these people with simple minds.
To actually grasp a statement that didn't neatly line up with their political punch list for the do's and don'ts of mindless political posturing. So let me start with simple talk that even simple-minded people can understand. America must stand with Israel. They are America's strongest ally in the region. Hamas, they're a terrorist organization who started this confrontation by launching thousands of missile attacks on the people of Israel. Are you still with me? Israel uses their missiles to protect people. Hamas uses their people to protect missiles.
I said that 3 weeks ago.
Nations don't really matter much.
You're a little slow on the uptake,
long
Joe.
been a hotbed of anti-Israeli sentiment. What matters most now is that Israel's Arab neighbors in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Jordan support the Jewish state over the Islamic terror outfit. Turkey and Qatar, of course, have chosen to be backers of Hamas, but they're practically alone in the region. It's also true that the United States has less leverage to move both sides to a peaceful solution because Israel's longtime distrust of President Obama and lining up with Turkey and Qatar in peace talks doesn't help bridge that divide. But